Hi guys, welcome to Jason Talks More, the supplementary show of Jason Talks Geek, where I get my guests and I force them like a prisoner to talk more on camera. Here's Josh Macuga. Hey,
I'm here against my will. We talked about hostage negotiations.
Yes, he did. So you can go check that out over elsewhere on the channel. But we're here to talk about. You brought up this interesting idea. We were talking about Game of Thrones season 6.
Mm-hmm.
By the time this is out there, it's already long done. But you talked about that Game of Thrones is now event TV, but it's event TV for men. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say it's just for men, but it's
unlike certain deodorants.
Yeah. By men. What it's kind of done is like. For a long time, women have had their event TV, right? You've had your stories, like your old soap operas where women would talk about...
Okay, so soap operas are event TV?
It started back...
The bar is starting low.
Guarantee you that my mother and her friends talked about their soap operas all the time.
General Hospital
right?
or whatever.
All that stuff. The death of all that kind of thing, right?
Oh,
then you had what trended towards when I was younger. Girls got together every week and watched 90210.
Okay.
Right? Okay. They watched it after school, whenever 90210 came out, 210 came on, girls watched it. Then what trended to then was The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Okay, The Bachelor.
That event TV that people watched, whatever. Now you could throw a couple reality shows in there, like I guess men sort of, but Survivor and like Amazing Race, whatever. But for the most part, females have loved The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. But men haven't really had that event TV.
Okay.
We've had, maybe some Sopranos near the end that people like kind of got together, but
maybe,
it wasn't event TV.
Maybe.
End of Breaking Bad.
Entourage?
No, because
Not
it was
really?
more of like a comedy. You still like talked about it.
I'm trying to think.
But with Game of Thrones, men and women can both get together with this and event TV, watch the shit out of it. Do parties, do watch parties, groups of 20, 30, 40 people getting together out on like a backyard or in like a big space watching Game of Thrones.
Who watches Game of Thrones in a backyard?
I watched Game of Thrones in a backyard.
You watched Game of Thrones in a backyard?
We were in a pool and a buddy blew up a screen and we watched it from floaties in a pool. It was incredible.
You were in a pool?
Yeah. Season 3, end of season 3.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It was incredible.
I was like talking about the most recent. You were like pedaling along with Khaleesi. You were like, I'm coming.
Help! But it's turned like event TV outside of sports for men. We now have event TV with Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
And Game of Thrones is one of those geeky shows, I guess you want to call it, that has transcended. It's gone to the people that aren't like, I read comic books and I read books, so I'm a bigger Game of Thrones fan than you. No. People that love the show can be just as big as fans as you. Just because they didn't read the books doesn't mean they're any less of a fan.
But I would say it's even more geekier than your normal stuff, even more so than like I would say Star Trek, because Star Trek is science fiction, and like science fiction's been around for a very long time. But fantasy, beyond like Dungeons of Dragons, Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, doesn't really transcend.
No.
And Game of Thrones, for all you want to say it is a fantasy story. There are dragons in it and magic.
Yeah. It's everybody's like, it's a social commentary. Give me a break with social commentary.
Let me throw it this way. Do you think Walking Dead is event TV for men too? Because I would say that's definitely a manly or a skewed more towards men show.
It doesn't get the same kick that that Game of Thrones does.
It's just because there's a lot of walking in the woods.
I think it's more so it's that zombies are more like into the horror genre.
Okay.
I think there's so many people whose like girlfriend's like, I don't want to watch Game of Thrones, or I don't want to watch The Walking Dead because it's like a little too whatever. Like that's definitely I've gotten from like multiple people who's like, yeah, my girlfriend doesn't watch it, so we don't. But like I don't get together with all my buddies to watch Walking Dead. But if we were in town, I had a buddy come through. He's like, yo, we gotta watch Game of Thrones. We left a bar and we went to watch Game of Thrones and then came back.
You floated.
We floated. That's the kind of thing that Game of Thrones does. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Is there an event show from your past that you really remember? Like, is there a first event show for you that you remember from your past? I mean, for me, I kind of think it was Seinfeld. For me.
Oh, yeah, Thursday night.
Like you did nothing on a Thursday night. Like you watched Seinfeld.
Absolutely. You watched Seinfeld. I think in my house, and we always watched Cosby Show, Cheers, Seinfeld. Those were our 3 shows we watched religiously. We never missed an episode of any of that. And I feel like Seinfeld may have been one of our first water cooler shows. Trending
agree.
towards.
I agree. Because everybody always. I mean, I was in school at the time, but I remember like at school the next day, we all talked about Seinfeld from last night.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Floating in a pool, watching Game of Thrones.
It was one of those Hollywood kind of nights when you were just
It seems like it. It seems like it's so.
Yeah.
All right, guys, don't forget to click subscribe. Go check out the Jason Talks Geek with Josh Macuga. Josh Macuga, where can they find you, man?
Hey, at Josh Macuga on Twitter and Instagram. The Josh Macuga Show on YouTube. Collider TV Talk every Monday on Collider Video on YouTube. And Film HQ every Friday on the Comic-Con HQ app.
Cool. Don't forget that this show happens because of all your support at patreon.com/Jawiin. So thank you, all these awesome people and the people that got to see Josh early. Don't forget to click subscribe because Jason Talks Geek comes at you every Friday, and I'll be seeing you next week.